This meeting of the Board of Tyler ISD Trustees is called to order, was previously called to order. We do have a quorum, and the meeting has been duly called, and the notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. We are coming out of executive session. Thank you all for coming. And as always, as we reconvene from executive session, we will start our meeting with a prayer and the pledge. And Dr. Nation, it is yours.
Let's pray. Dear Father, first I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity and placing us in a position to make decisions that affect our entire community. Thank you for a community that truly puts concern for the children in the forefront and places confidence in these board members to do so. I thank you for your protection and your guidance. Give each of us the discernment to recognize and honor your leading. Thank you for the superintendent, administrators, and teachers with whom we can place confidence, knowing that they're called to lead in a way that establishes a safe and caring learning environment, as well as well-trained and capable people. Thank you for leading people who are truly called to educate our children, who are the future of our community and our world, in a loving manner. Lord, you know our struggles, both educationally and socially, and we know that is all in your hands. Please maintain within the members of this board the ability to recognize your guidance and the intestinal fortitude to follow through. Thank you especially for the students of this district and the parents who send us their best. We covet your continued protection in a world that sometimes doesn't make sense. And thank you for a community that strives to be a touchstone for reasonability. Thank you, Lord, for so many ways that we don't even realize that your hand guides. In the name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, amen. 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 Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nation. We do have a little action coming out of executive session to take care of, and that is to consider the renewals, non-renewals, contract abandonments, and terminations of contracts for professional personnel, including action to propose termination for the Chapter 21 probationary contract of Raquel Silva, David Brock, and Arlette Martinez. Do I have a motion on that item?
Mr. President, I move that the board propose the termination of the Chapter 21 probationary employment contracts of employees Raquel Silva, David Brock, and Arlette Martinez for the abandonment of their job duties, and that the required notices of proposed termination be prepared and sent in accordance with the law.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, the motion carries. We're moving on to the best part of the meeting, special recognitions.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Crawford. As we begin the awards and recognition portion of our meeting, and as the Texas School Recognition Month concludes, we'd like to take this time to honor the elected officials that sit before us today as trustees of our school system. Often the unpaid position that you occupy is not the most comfortable space for service within a community, but the core of your work, striving for successful student outcomes, positively impacts the students, parents, teachers, and staff. The future of Tyler, Texas continues to be bright because of each and every one of you. Tonight, we say thank you for your selfless work.
Thank you, and I think you know that we don't do it for the pats on the back or the recognitions, but we appreciate it.
We appreciate you. We are excited to announce our December Student of the Month, who was not able to join us last month. So tonight we would like to present his award to him. The December Elementary Student of the Month is Alan Reyes, a third grade student at the Wayne D. Shears Center for Exceptional Programs. And for the month of January, we want to recognize Adeline Robles, a second grade student at Ramey Elementary School, and as the secondary student of the month, Riley Biles, an 8th grade student at Caldwell Elementary School, or Caldwell Arts Academy. At this time, please join me in watching a brief video about these 3 outstanding students. Throughout the school year, we see successful student outcomes happening all around us. Whether in the classroom, on the court, on the field, or across the stage, we celebrate these successes. This is our school district, and these are our Students of the Month. This is Alan Reyes, our District Elementary Student of the Month for December. Alan is in the 3rd grade at Beau Shears. His daily determination and perseverance exemplify Think Win Win, a part of 7 Habits of Highly Effective Kids.
It's just awesome watching him because, even in his work, he usually flops his arms or just sit, but at least touched and was trying. But yeah, he's grown in so many areas.
Alan faces the challenge of learning to walk, making progress through the years at a slow and steady pace.
We're so proud of Alan. When he started in my class, he was just beginning to bear weight on his feet. He would stand holding on to things, and play with toys, and he was working on standing a lot, and we got him in the gait trainer. Slowly but surely, we were able to take the harness off to where he was just holding a walker and having less prompts.
Now let's take a look at our first Students of the Month for 2023.
Hi, I'm Adeline Robles. I'm the Elementary Student of the Month for January.
Adeline comes to school eager and ready to learn every day. She is a wonderful helper to her fellow second graders.
When you help somebody, you can, show them your work, but you can't tell them the answer because then they won't learn it.
Adeline loves to read and play games like Roblox. She also has a love for math. Her second grade teacher, Miss Clausen, shares her thoughts on this special young lady.
Adeline is the most encouraging kind of student you could have in a classroom. She is so eager and excited to come to school and learn every day. So it's just a real great joy to have her in class, and I look forward to seeing her every single day.
Our secondary student of the month is Riley Biles.
Hi, I'm Riley Biles. I am the district's secondary student of the month for January.
Riley is involved in many things at Caldwell. She attributes a lot of her determination and success to teachers that help her every day.
There is a lot of work that goes into all these teachers, especially since I live with two of them. I live with teachers of my own, and I know that these teachers are incredibly hardworking. They put out more than anyone would ever think of.
Riley is passionate about Caldwell Arts, and it shows. Her vocal teacher, Donna Shore, has this to say.
Riley is a fantastic representative of Caldwell. She's been here, I think, since kindergarten. So she's had the opportunity to grow as an artist and have that art-centered focus since she was a child. And it's really exciting to see her going through adolescence now and all of that work that she put in really starting to develop in a more adult way.
Let's congratulate these outstanding students as we continue to reflect successful student outcomes throughout the district. Sponsored by Christus Trinity Mother Francis Health System. And we'll now invite the board down to the front. And at this time, we would like to invite Alan to the front to receive his Elementary Student of the Month award. Come on down. Yeah, you have quite the fan club, Alan. Yay, Alan. And now we would like to welcome Adeline to the front to receive her Elementary Student of the Month award. Come on up. Congratulations again. And now it's time for Riley to come on down to receive your Secondary Student of the Month award. Congratulations. We still have some more celebrating. We also would like to celebrate our District of the Month, Hope Chandler, a fourth grade math teacher at Pete Elementary School. And here are a few comments from her principal. Mrs. Chandler has a positive disposition that is contagious. She is a second-year teacher that is new to teaching from the medical field, in which she has taken on the challenges with a smile and passion that extends beyond her tenure. She serves as our fourth grade team leader, as well as our campus leader and Me Lighthouse coordinator. She also serves on the CPOC and OHI committee to assist with monitoring our campus goals. And last but not least, she will be starting her master's degree through the Tyler ISD Team 1.5 program. Come on up. Thank you so much for all you do for successful student outcomes. And this concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you, everyone.
I didn't realize it was karaoke month. This is how we do it. It's Friday night, and I feel all right.
Yep. There went all those people.
All right, as we leave from public participation, leave from special recognitions, we do have public participation coming up, and we've got one speaker tonight, Mr. McCullough. You can go ahead and make your way up to the stage, to the podium, I mean. Front row seats.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Joseph McCullough, and I'm here to request that the board establish a community leadership committee, and I would like to describe the implications of that on our budget. So a community leadership committee, CLC, the idea behind it is that it's a group of volunteers that will monitor different events occurring and that are related to the district, and then inform the district about that. And it's particularly important with legislative activities. So this has been implemented at Cy-Fair ISD very effectively. So what happens, it's very similar to the SHAC, how the SHAC will make a recommendation regarding healthcare curriculum. What the CLC will do is they will monitor legislation, and then they will put together recommendations on legislative priorities. And what can happen from there is that the CLC, the members of the CLC, can then go advocate on behalf of the district. So you have volunteers like just business people, parents, even clergy. They They meet just like the Shack does, and then they will invite reps to come to their meetings to discuss particular issues. Because it can be complicated for the board itself to go and advocate for particular items of interest in the legislature, this gives a way for the board to have a voice, and it also gives a way for community members to align themselves with the board and make sure that public education and TISD is being advocated for at the legislation level. And the reason why I believe this is particularly important is because the budget you're going to be presented with today might look drastically different next year, depending on certain pieces of legislation that pass. For example, if the school voucher programs pass, you're going to have a lot of revenue taken away from that comes from the state. And you'll see in the budget that was, I think, $58.9 million. And so that is the area of funding that is at risk. And you can also advocate for positive change instead of just preventing things from happening. For example, you could advocate for an increase in the basic allotment. And you can actually advocate that the basic allotment have a formula adjustment so that inflation is taken into account, so that when inflation rises, you still have an adequate amount of funding coming from the state. So this is my recommendation that you highly consider this Community Leadership Committee, because even though I myself might go to Austin, which I'm going to do in the middle of this month, and actually already did on opening day of the legislative session, I'm just one person, and me just saying, hey, Rep. Schaefer, I'd like to tell you my ideas about what should happen here, that doesn't carry a lot of weight. But if you have a group of people that can come together and say, we are the CLC for Tyler ISD, and we would like you to consider our legislative agenda, then we can actually have a chance of getting those conversations with the decision makers that have a really large impact on how the district functions. So I urge you to do that and appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McCullough. Okay, moving on down the agenda, we have the approval of minutes from the regular meeting, December 12th, 2022. Do I have a motion on that item?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. We had our annual audit for the 2021 and 2022 fiscal year. We have a presentation from our external auditors, and then we're going to consider approval of the annual audit for that year. How are y'all doing tonight?
We're doing
Thank
great, and I was going to ask Dr. Crawford, why does everybody leave right before the auditors come up?
It's not you. It's not you.
Are you thinking this is not fun?
You know, Gina and I, when we're putting this packet together, we always debate where do we put the auditors. So, sorry.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem.
So thank you for your time tonight. I'm Tom Prothro. This is A.J. Evans, and we helped lead the external audit for this year. And we had four other auditors this year, and they love being on the job. And everybody in office loves to be on this job and competes to be on this job. So you have really outstanding people here at the ISD. They're well-trained, and they're easy to work with. So it's been a great audit once again. This is our 16th year performing this audit. And you may think that's a long time, but every so often you get a new partner, you get a new manager, and it's like you kind of have a fresh look at the audit. So it's not exactly the same firm and the same audit for 16 years. On January 11th, we met with the audit committee and we answered their questions, and management was there, and we had a really healthy discussion. Communicated to them that there were no disagreements in the audit, during the audit with management or anyone involved in the audit. We worked with Mrs. Bjork and the new Mrs. Russell this year, and we're very appreciative of their hard work. They did a great job in all areas, as they always do, But also there was a new accounting standard that they handled very well, and Mr. Evans may talk about that. We had no audit adjustments for a ISD this size. To have 0 audit adjustments is, they just did a great job. So you don't see that very often. So that's wonderful. We do 2 audits every year. We do a financial statement audit, and we do an audit of federal funds. And Mr. Evans is going to talk about a little bit about the federal funds audit. I'm going to speak briefly to the financial statement audit. We did what we call an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of opinion that we can give. So we found that they did a great job, and we have nothing negative to report. And now Mr. Evans will give some financial highlights from the entire audit and then briefly discuss the federal funds. At the end, we're happy to answer any questions that y'all might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. It's great seeing you all again. As Tom said, I'm going to discuss a bit more related to the federal side of things, go over some financial highlights briefly, and then answer any questions you all may have. As part of looking at the federal funds and as part of government auditing standards, we have to report on the internal controls of the district. I think that's an added step that's required because the district is a governmental entity. And so if we were to find any significant deficiencies in internal control, any non-compliance with laws or regulations as part of the procedures we perform, we would be required to formally report that. And we're pleased to report that the letter and the report we were giving is clean, boilerplate, nothing to report, which is what you want to see. And then further, we actually give an opinion on the federal funds when we test major programs. And so the way those audits work is that essentially every 3 years, your big significant programs are going to be looked at. And so if it's something we didn't look at the last couple of years, we're going to look at it this year. And on top of that, we look at some areas that are considered higher risk. And so, of course, for this year with the district, for its year ended in 2022, which is what we're auditing, some of the higher risk areas were related to the COVID funding that all the districts received. And you know, it was a significant sum of money, and our job was to go in and look at that, look at the controls over that money, look at the compliance of the spending with that money, and we would have to report if we found anything. And that's an in-depth process there where we are pulling reports, we're pulling records, and again, we're pleased to report no significant deficiencies, and we're pleased to report no non-compliance. It's an unmodified opinion on those federal funds. And so this year we focused on that COVID funding, and then we also tested the Title I Part A program as well, and both of those clean opinion on those. So some financial highlights for the year. The total assets for the district increased by $99.9 million, so 0.1 short of 100. Large reason for that is due to the bond that passed. Of course, there's money involved with that. That's going to go into construction. And so on the liability side, liabilities increased by $66.7 million. So that's the new bond money that's paying down some of the existing debt that the district has. And then it's some favorable outcomes within the state pension plan as well, kind of reduce some of that liability. Further, property taxes for the district increased by almost $4 million compared to last year. So $134.1 million in property taxes for the district. And the assessed tax base for the district increased by 12.2% to $9.2 billion. Expenses, this is important to me. You know, budgeting, always important. So expenses were $7.9 million below budgeted amounts. Some reasons for that, there's some staff turnover. Obviously, if you have more senior employees, maybe retire, go somewhere else, they're replaced with more junior employees, that's gonna be at a lesser pay rate. And so that's gonna have less expense compared to what you've budgeted. And then additionally, there were a few student transportation projects that were delayed that caused the district to spend a little bit less compared to what's been budgeted. So it's, again, really good to see being within the budget. That's what you want to see. So good planning there. Federal expenditures, like we were discussing, they increased a good bit. They about doubled, and that's due to that COVID funding. So federal expenditures were about $60.2 million in fiscal year 22, again, primarily related to that COVID funding. And that funding was used for some staffing across the district, and it was used for some very important infrastructure projects across the district as well. And again, we tested that spending in detail. So we're always appreciative for the opportunity. We enjoy working with Jan Coker in the internal audit department. We work with Tasha Bjork and Casey Russell in the finance department, and they're top notch. And so we're always very grateful to work with them, and we'll be happy to field any questions anybody may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Does anybody on the board have any comments or questions?
Just a comment. I serve on that committee as well, and I was excited when we went into the meeting and they kept giving Tasha and Casey and Jan compliment after compliment after compliment, and you heard them say that they love coming here. So we appreciate you guys so very much. Tasha, raise your hand. Casey, raise your hand. Jan, raise your hand. We are so appreciative of what you do for this district to make us stand out where people love to come audit us. So it was such a joy.
Thank you. Anybody else have any? I think at this point, we have all served on the audit committee and been a part of one of these audits, these external audits. And like you said, it might be 16 years, but I was thinking this one has got to be different because of the influx of COVID monies. And so I was curious as to the load and the with federal funds, the depth that you have to look in and making sure that, I mean, I know every time we spend any of those federal dollars, we have to make sure that it fits in with the parameters of those. So I'm really glad we got a clean sheet there and appreciate y'all. Marty, Aaron, anything else to add?
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation and good work, everybody involved.
I mean, AJ's sock game is pretty impressive.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the annual audit for the 2021 and 2022 school year.
I move that we approve the audits as presented.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. Ayes have it, the motion carries. We have an advanced placement, dual credit, and CTE certification update. These are always fun. See what Mr. Brown's doing, what he's got cooking.
Coming to the mic is Executive Director of College and Career, Mr. Gary Brown. Pawpaw. Seriously, that's his granddad name.
That's right.
And he's growing a beard out to kind of represent that. So, Mr. Brown, this is kind of the mid-year, not a whole lot of data, but certainly kind of a look forward to what the spring semester may hold for our students. So we'll let you fire away.
Thank you, Board President Washington, Dr. Crawford, and board members. I do appreciate the opportunity to share mid-year statistics and kind of a look ahead, as Dr. Crawford mentioned. The goal that was established a couple of years ago, the percent of Tyler ISD graduates that are college, career, or military ready will increase from 63.4% to 71.7% by June of 2026. We're kind of halfway towards that target year of 2026 as we're checking some of these numbers. And you're familiar with these, so I won't go through these individually, the college readiness components and the indicators that our graduates meet and that we work for them to meet, the dual credit AP and TSI testing. I am going to spend a little more time on the career readiness because there are changes here that are retroactive that will go back to the class of 2022, and want to make you aware of that. In the past, you'll remember that we talked about coherent sequence, and students could get credit for staying in a program of study over time. Well, that went away for a couple of years, and so we prepared to not have that safety net and focus on the industry-based certifications. Well, the state now has come back in the most recent accountability update, and starting with the class of 2022 that graduated, as we know, last 8 months ago, I guess, that now students have to be the concentrator, which means they have to be in a program of study before they can get credit for the industry-based certification that they may earn. We're fortunate that we have aligned our IBCs, or industry-based certifications, to the programs of study, so I think we're positioned well moving forward, but there's no longer the full check mark or full point for the industry-based certification. I just wanted to point that out. And then the military readiness components, once again, it was part of the system. It went away for a period of time, and now it's come back in. It has a much more rigorous standard of proof of evidence as far as the actual enlistment paperwork and documentation from a student that enlists in one of the branches of armed forces. One final thing on the career readiness, just as we look ahead, the current seniors that are the class of 2023, as well as the current juniors, the class of 24, and sophomores, class of 25, they will have this career readiness standard. The current freshmen that are in classes today, they will have a different level or standard they'll have to meet in CTE that's called a completer, where they'll have to be in 3 CTE courses in a program of study with 4 or more credits. So the standard is going up for students as they move through the system. One other thing I would point out on this one is just that looking at our graduates over the last couple of years, that when you the percentages of graduates that earn indicators in these areas, that the number one is the career readiness component. We have about 44% of our graduates that meet that mark and earn credit in that statistic. The second highest is in the dual credit area. We have about 35 or 36% of our students, a little more than a third, that are earning credit and indicators in this area. The TSI criteria, that's the ACT, the SAT, the TSI testing. We have about 27 or 28% of the students that earn in that area. And then finally, we're averaging around 15 or 16% of our graduates that are scoring a 3 or higher on an AP exam, just kind of to rank those. All significant, and we actually do have some students that meet every single indicator that are listed up there, believe it or not. AP exams, dual credit, CTE, and the whole 9 yards. The actual numbers, just to look at those, the 2021 accountability, the final numbers that came out, I guess, about 15 months ago. This reminder, this is the class of 2020, the graduates of 2020, and that accountability report. These are the numbers you saw where Tyler ISD, CCMR graduates compared to our region, and then compared to the state, we exceeded those. And then in the most recent report that was released this past fall, we had bumped that up to 72.3, which actually was an 8 percentage point increase. That exceeded the goal, but I will say this, with the new accountability system, and that's the class of 2021, it's actually gonna get potentially drop back down because of some of the new criteria and the way that they're gonna do that. The AP exams, just real quickly to go through these 3 criteria. Last year we had 546 students take 926 AP exams. 285 of those scored 3 or higher. We've already ordered exams for this year. We have 562 students that we've ordered exams for. They'll take these in May, 992 exams. If we keep with a similar percentage, we're projecting to have an increase in the number of students that earn those 3s or higher on AP exams. Dual credit enrollment, just looking at a trend, and we've discussed this previously in these presentations, the dip that occurred after the spring of 2020 for various reasons. I won't go back through all of that, but you can see that we edged back up quite a bit in the fall of 2021. And then most recently, the semester that just ended last month in December, we had that number go back up over 1,000 students. And the courses, if you look at the courses, you can see that many students are taking multiple dual credit courses, some as many as 3 or 4 at a time. So that's the dual credit numbers, and that's trending back to where we want it to be. And then the final criteria on industry-based certifications, the class of 2022 that just graduated this past May, 461 students in that class earned a certification, and you can see with 692, some of them earned more than 1 certification. Where we stand presently in January, we pulled these numbers last week, we've had 404 of the current seniors earn 552 certifications. So just to compare these numbers where we were last January, we were about 350 of the seniors that had earned around 500. So we're ahead of that pace, and we really feel like that we're going to top 500 students this year. That's at least our internal goal. And that is the information for this report. I'll be glad to field any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Brown? I just look your way.
I know. I'm very pleased. Anytime that we are outscoring the state and the region in anything, I'm very pleased. I think that we're very capable of doing that, and I think that we're doing a very good job in light of everything else we've been through. Hoping that the projections for the class of 2023, the number earning the IBC will increase. I know the projection's down a little bit for various reasons, but we just need to continue to encourage them to do that.
Well, and let me just say this to make sure that this is where we currently stand. I was actually on that slide.
It's the last one, yeah.
It is the last one. That is where we are now. We're actually ahead of where we were last year. So if you look at that 461 students, we project to be ahead of that by the end of the school year. I want to make sure I'm clear.
Okay, yeah. Got it.
You continually keep kind of pushing the bar, raising that ceiling. And it sounds like there might be an adjustment coming with what goes on with,
The criteria changing is going to cause just a little bit of a dip. We're poised and ready for it, but it's still, there's going to be a little dip there.
Little. They have messed with the CCMR metrics considerably. So I'm not going to sugarcoat and say little. And also, I wish Dr. Curitan was here so we could get a little bit more deep into this discussion about actually going back and looking at some of the COVID year, like the COVID year being a part of how we're formulating these rules. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least, about how we've made all these first downs and got across the goal line in a lot of ways, and all of a sudden we're going to flip the switch in 1 year with our same quality of teaching staff that we have and the same effort by our students, and then you're talking about a system-wide, not just Tyler, but a statewide dip backwards. What other type of system are you ever going to see that's what happens? Now, I get continuous improvement, but to not say that what you were doing say what you were doing was maybe too good, and then we're going to go back and ratchet it back instead of figuring out a way to reward where you were at and then just move the ball down the field is just something that baffles me. And every chance I get from here on out, and y'all know me, I've been the guy that says we're not going to make any excuses, and we're not. We're going to compete. But we're also going to let it be known that tinkering with this system that we've got and being able to communicate that out to the public is going to be a massive challenge, because that's the first thing that the media is going to want to do is grasp hold of that. When they say last year Tyler ISD was an 88, 2 points away from an A, and then all of a sudden they're at a 77. That's what we're looking at right now. Now we're competing. Our teachers are really getting after it. Our students are really doing a good job. Things are a whole lot more calmer this year than they were last year when we had a good year. So I feel confident that we're going to be able to get after it, but at the same time, that is an issue. Our legislatures need to hear it. We had a guy at public participation talking about that. And Texas School Alliance, Texas Association of School Administrators. We're letting our legislators know about these things, and at the same time, you're going to pile on vouchers, and then you're going to ramp up all the charter schools that you got and the charter systems that you got, and not located in areas in the state to where the purpose for those charter systems our schools were implemented. That was back when Bill Ratliff was lieutenant governor, to help schools that have been consistently Fs, and yet you've got them right in the middle of where your higher performing schools are. There's something amiss, something afoot, excuse me. And we need to be talking about that. There's no doubt about it. So thank you for the platform to give me and that opportunity there that we're covered on the agenda, that we translated in the CCMR and how we're scored now versus how we're going to be scored in future years.
Well, to put a little scoop of sugar into that vinegar pie, I will say this. I have more confidence in Tyler ISD's ability to prepare kids, against anybody, against those charters, against those privates. When you talk AP, when you talk dual credit, and all the other stuff you've been, in charge of, I have no doubt in our abilities to give kids those opportunities to knock it out of the park, and I know we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, that's certainly one of the things that, just as a parent, that it's real easy to get wins, right? When you're talking with other parents or you're trying to compete with other schools. And all it took, I mean, I've been here long enough to know that it just took a little bit of focus and the right people. And I mean, we made such a tremendous impact on getting better in these areas. It seems like night and day.
It's such a good opportunity. It's such a money saver for a parent to have those hours potentially just built up before their child ever goes off to college or does whatever they do, or an industry certification here. It's putting you ahead either way. So I'm loving that we're focusing and excelling at that. So thank you.
I
appreciate it.
I just want to compliment Dr. Crawford. I stand behind you 100% in regards to the comments you made. I think that it's a blatant attack on schools that have done well to change everything when people are doing good, and to make it to the point that they will appear to go backwards. And a lot of times, unfortunately, the public doesn't understand that. But when you get the people that's actually making the change tell you that it's going to go backwards, it's going to go backwards. So we have to prepare our people for that and make them aware that it's not us, it's the legislature and the laws that they've changed to make it appear that the schools that were doing well are not doing well anymore.
Okay, Mr. Brown, thank you so much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. In the next edition of Tyler Today, I think there'll be an article that highlights Mr. Brown's work around this realm of stuff. So for those of y'all that are out there, make sure you get a copy. Maybe Gary, Paw can autograph it for you.
He's up again.
Oh.
You up again?
Well, don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because we have a competitive academics.
Oh, yeah, you're not leaving.
Stay right here. I don't know if that needs to be. There we go. Okay, so we'll move right into this one, and this one will be very brief. We spend the fall semester gathering students, coaching students, preparing students for the academic competitions that occur in the spring. We actually have had a couple recently, but just to go through very quickly where we are. Most recently, we had students competing in Austin in the UIL State Congress. We had a group from Legacy High School and Tyler High School compete. I've got one slide in regard to that. We're in the process of our original competitions, district and regional, for career and technical student organizations. And we'll be reporting more in the summative report. We've already had a group of DECA students qualify for their state contest, and a group of HOSA, that's Health Occupation Student Association students, qualify for their state. And then right behind it will be Skills USA and TSA. Those are coming up. The UIL District cross-examination debate meets are going to scheduled here for the end of this week into next week. February 25th, and at the end of February, we'll host the UIL Middle School Academic Meet, which is the foundational stages for high school UIL academics, and we rotate that between Tyler High and Legacy, so this year it's Legacy's turn. Then hopefully we have students that do qualify at the regional level, at the district level, to move on to that state competition. That'll occur the weekend at the end of our spring break for any students that qualify. And then we'll move past the district and regional contest into the state contest for CTSOs. We did really well last year and actually have more students competing this year. So we're excited about the opportunities that are there. Then we host our traditional UIL district academic and speech meets. That's one that most people are familiar with, UIL number sense and all of those categories, computer science. The 3A meet for early college high school is at Sabine High School. The 5A meet for Tyler High School is in White House. And then the 6A Legacy will go to Mesquite to compete. And once again, hopefully have students advance to the regional and then to state. At the end of March, the following month, we'll have UIL elementary academics. That too will be hosted at Legacy High School to give those students an opportunity to be on the campus, plus it's a wonderful facility. For those students that do qualify out of district, they'll be able to compete at the regional meets, and 3A is actually here in Tyler at Tyler Junior College. They host that. The 5A meet this year is at the University of Texas at Arlington, and then the 6A students will go to Baylor University in Waco to compete. And hopefully, as we have in the past, we will have students that will advance to Austin to the state meet. And I just have 2 slides with some recent things that occurred in the fall. This is more of a local competition, but it does involve academics. It's students investing in a stock simulation at Tyler Junior College. This is the 3rd annual event that Junior Achievement has hosted. We had more than 200 of our high school students compete in this. Had a great time. If one thing you need to go to, it's this. They get excited. They're on the trading floor. Tyler High team won 1st place this year. So that's the group with their medals. You can see some of their investments in the background there. And then this is the UL Congress group that I spoke about that were able to advance beyond regional. And actually, the young man there in the left photograph with the light blue tie and white shirt is Jack Bergfeld. He was the regional champion that advanced the state. And that's the mid-year update.
All right. Thank you so much. I think when fostered in a good way, competition builds character. I don't care if it's on the athletic field or, the amount of preparation, just the amount of nervousness that goes into a competition, to build that character. And if you succeed, that's a life skill. And that's building life skills. So a lot of people think about competition and they think athletics, and a lot of these kids do both. But this is just as valuable, the preparation it takes to go compete and do a good job. So,
Mr. Brown, a lot of kudos to your fellow principals and our teaching staff that have really embraced this. I think since you've come on board as the executive director of CCMR, our competitive academics have improved, no doubt about it. And we've got a nice little, a big program that now spans, all the way from elementary to high school. So we know it's not just you, but it takes a staff to do it, and they don't complain much about it. They really enjoy this part of getting kids ready for competition. We celebrate the Friday Night Lights. We celebrate the musicals. But this behind-the-scenes thing here, there are some tenacious academicians that love to compete in Tyler. It's a neat program that we have here.
Very good. No doubt. Teachers do an amazing job. Success breeds success, and we know that, and the kids are very competitive.
good stuff. Any other comments or questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
As he's walking back to his seat, next month we'll actually have visual performing arts and athletics mid-year updates for y'all. Ms.
Okay.
O'Connell, you're on the clock.
Well, great. We're moving to our business, legal, finance, and consent agenda. We are going to pull item B, which is gifts and donations. And I will go ahead and entertain a motion on items A, C, and D.
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Now we get to talk about gifts and donations.
We always love this part of the meeting because it shows the benevolent culture that we have here in Tyler, Texas, and in Smith County. And one of our premier partners, if not the premier partner for our school system, I think started in 1991. Is that right, Tab? Dr. Jack Davidson was the superintendent at that time. We got the foundation going. They're here tonight to present y'all with a big check, like figuratively and literally. We just had our Grants for Great Ideas. We're going to invite them up here, Suzette Farr, Executive Director, for $105,325.90.
Get you all together around.
You barely made it out there, Dr. Crawford. Camera, please. All right. 3, 2, 1. Got it.
Okay, I will go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the gifts and donations we received tonight.
I move that we approve.
Thank you, Dr. Nation. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Ayes have it, and the motion carries. And thank you once again. That is awesome. We will put it to good use. Okay, curriculum instruction and consent agenda. We were going to talk about the district calendar.
Yeah, there's no reason to pull because there's two items, right? There's the school year calendar and the Boshears calendar. We're not going to go over every little piece of this, but we really wanted to at least present to the board. We did hear some comments and people wondering, why we were doing Christmas the way we did it when maybe a neighboring district was doing it. Why there was some professional development opportunity, more professional development opportunities, maybe done on Monday as opposed to Friday, where kids aren't in school, et cetera. So we always want to make sure when we develop a calendar, it makes the most instructional sense for the most part of our families. We realize some folks like to go skiing at certain parts of the year. They usually make that choice themselves and just go ahead and go anyways, right? So crafting a calendar just at the whims of a few folks is never, the most administrative thing to do. So what you have before you here is a calendar that was really developed what makes the most instructional sense, getting out before Memorial Day. That has been a goal of our teaching staff and our parents, at least for the last 8 years. I don't know what that was 9 years ago, but I know since I've started having to craft the calendar, the staff started having to craft the calendar since I've been superintendent, it's about when we get out. And it's also about when Christmas falls. Plus, there's some other things that we're going to make sure that we tag out. We're going to make sure we take Good Friday off. There's some things in there as well. We're going to make sure we do spring break as aligned with TJC and the most of the other school systems that are around here as well. So when we start talking about that, that's what we do. We also have to look at instructional minutes, and we also have to look at contract days, which are different than instructional days. Instructional days or instructional minutes are kid-specific. They're learner-specific. And then you've got the adult things that you have to worry about, right, Tasha? To make sure that they're 187 or 202 or 195 or whatever those contract days are, 226, that those things are all part of the gumbo whenever we put a calendar together. So we really want to just make the statement that we do read the comments. We do make a tweak every now and then. In fact, I think we made a last minute tweak 2 years ago, or maybe it might have been, it was 2 years ago. It was 2020 because Jackson, my own son, was part of that, about when TJC, when their spring break was, along with some graduation adjustments as well because of COVID. And so that's kind of where we're at in regard to the calendar. We think it's a good calendar that makes instructional sense. We've sprinkled the professional development of our teaching staff throughout the school year as opposed to these long, just terrible blocks at the back end of the school year. But the back end of the school year, people are checked out, right? Former high school principals that are in the audience and former elementary principals that are in the audience that are now executive directors. Yes. Former teachers. I mean, Ms. Atkins, tell me, did you really enjoy all that rigorous and meaningful professional development after the school year was over? Sure. Yeah, okay, there you go. You were an outlier. So in saying that, we're trying to do what makes sense at the right times of year for our staff as well. So that's a little bit about our calendar. Still get 9 days off at Thanksgiving, 9 days off at spring break, 17 days off at Christmas because of where New Year's falls this year. So excited about this calendar. We could have done the half and half, but usually half weeks, or unless it's at the very first of school, I don't know how much you're getting done in a half week for instruction. There's going to be a lot of Polar Express and a lot of Santa Claus movies being shown if you're going to do that. And then if you come back during a half week, everybody's going to be like, well, we got to get our sea legs back underneath us after the break. So let's just take it easy when we get back. So what makes sense for Tyler, Texas and Tyler ISD kids is what we've got presented. Same thing goes with both Shears. They're a year-long calendar. Y'all are very familiar with that. And those are both presented to y'all tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on the calendar? I think you covered a good bit there. Feel
Just realized my junior will now have a graduation date set.
Wow.
That's correct. Your junior has a graduation date set. You know, Friday, Saturday. I don't keep up with them. Okay.
May 18th.
I think these calendars look really good, and I was looking at something on Facebook where somebody was wondering, well, have they got a calendar done yet? We need to know when spring break's gonna be, so.
Yeah. Hey, how do y'all like the July to July now? Instead of having to toggle back and go find the old calendar to see when that happened. So
I like
kind of
that.
a little twist that communications department uncovered that makes sense for us as well.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion on both items A and B.
Motion to approve the calendars.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. A calendar is set. We have a quarterly financial executive summary. Can you summarize that? I'm joking.
And this one's November. In your packet, you have December.
Right. Okay. Well, good deal. Okay, that was a great summary.
Ms. Bjork, next time, make sure you have the microphone near you and turned on, please. Here you go. Yep. Having it up there next to you will help, okay? Okay. Our constituents online would like to hear you.
Okay, we do have discussion as far as there are some local policies that I read, just had some seemingly minor tweaks to them, and it's the first reading, and as always, read through them. If we have any questions for Dr. Crawford or anybody in his shop, feel free to reach out and ask. Anything to add to that, Dr.
Dr. Gropel is our designee for policy management, along with Trina. She here? There she is. They're very available to answer those and work with TASB in regard to those. FNG is the grievance policy, complaint policy. There's not a whole lot of tweaking going on there, but that's just kind of the what else do you have in there, Dr. Gropel? Thank you for doing that.
Yes, with FNG, you just have a couple tweaks to the identification for 504 students and special education. If a parent wants to grieve whether their student qualified under both of those programs and how we offer. That's really the major change in there, and it's really not a significant change to the policy, just a reword of how it's listed out in the policy.
And that's F&G?
That's F&G.
F&G, okay.
We had to add in, one policy that we're updating is CKC. We have to add in a bullet under our emergency operations plan, which is a response to a nearby train derailment as applicable. I talked to Agent Milslegels, that's been in our plan for several years now, and the policy's now caught up to that, so.
Okay, well, if anybody has any questions about those updates, feel free to ask. And then future business, we've got a workshop on the 9th, February 20th, regular meeting, and on May 6th, 2023, we have a couple of elections for single-member districts 2 and 4. I believe that's Newsom and Dr. Nation.
I have a semi-brief statement
Please.
that I'd like to read for everybody. At this time, I'd like to express my appreciation to the people of Tyler in general and of District 4 especially. I've experienced your support for 9 years on this board as of May. My desire and calling has always been in regard to the children, and I've served in different roles in my career as an educator, from teacher to campus administrator to district administrator and as a school board trustee. It is a definite privilege to be a part of this board, and I could say so many positive things about this board and how everybody works together and we all have at heart what's good for the kids. We try to ensure that our teachers and students have the best possible resources for a quality education, resulting in preparing our students for productive citizenship in our community, state, and country through successful student outcomes. I have filed the appropriate paperwork to be placed on the ballot for the upcoming election to continue to serve as trustee for District 4 of Tyler ISD, and I ask for your continued support.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you, Dr. Nation.
Well said.
That's good news. I'm happy to hear that. I really am. And 9 years. It's been fun serving with you. So got those coming up. So unless anybody has any more comments, then I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Okay. All in favor say aye. 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 All opposed? The ayes have it and the motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.